Oh shit, bro. Havoc's dying, bro? That's not a good sign. If Havoc's dying, I'm gonna be giga dying, bro.
It is important to note this video is primarily based on my March and June playthroughs, meaning that come early access on December 6th, the game most likely will be different, and any feedback given in this video may have already been addressed. On that note, the primary goal of this video is to, of course, provide feedback to GGG, emphasizing gameplay and design elements that stood out to me, but secondarily, for the players and community, I hope I can further the discussion on some recurring topics, especially in regards to combat.
Chat, wait. What's the point of mounts? What's the point of mounts? Like, what's the point of mounts, bro? Like, I remember those from, like, way back. They said, we're gonna have mounts in PoE 2. Don't they look fucking dumb as hell?
Play and design elements that stood out.
That looks dumb as fuck to me. Is it ascendancy? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope that the whole game isn't going to be like, oh, if you're in an outdoor map, you just wear a mount. I don't remember how mounts work, though. How the fuck? It's an ascendancy skill on a ranger. Oh, okay then. Okay, if it's just one thing on one ascendancy, okay, fair enough. Sweet as. As long as they don't become it, because that would just be awful if that was a mainstay of PoE 2, bro. Like, you're just mounting up for no, like, fuck that.
Me. But secondarily, for the players and community, I hope I can further the discussion on some recurring topics, especially in regards to combat.
Oh yeah,
now,
West.
With that settled, my opinion on Path of Exile 2 after 12 hours of playtesting is Path of Exile 2 is good, and Path of Exile 2 is its own unique game. If I had to give 3 additional reasons to play PoE 2, they would be meaningful combat, improved accessibility, and higher intensity boss fights. To expand, the combat versus trash monsters has a mix of both zoom and challenging encounters.
Playing couch co-op right now?
Accessibility has been improved without removing depth, simply by hiding complexity.
Based.
And endgame level boss fights can be experienced during the campaign. In terms of changes, I'm looking to see improvements to the following systems during early access. The first being mana. As a player, I just don't believe resource sustain is a compelling problem to solve, especially because it feels bad when you can't cast your skills. Secondly, crafting.
True. Pretty true, man. Not gonna lie. True, pretty true, Havoc. Pretty true. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that take. Yeah, it does feel like ass when you can't use your shit. You know, and then you're having to constantly spam mana potions. Yeah, no, he's right. He's totally right. Although, there's a bunch of things that, like, are annoying, but then you solve them and they're not annoying. And if you didn't have those problems in the game, what do you end up with, though? I mean, there is a question. Like, I mean, why not just, you know, give all players, you know, to remove a bunch of issues that are in the game? Because I feel like a bunch of issues in the game are there to be solved, so you try and make the ultimate character, right? I don't know. It's kind of it's a hard place to be in. It is. Wrap it up. Okay, guys, I'm going to be honest here. I was excited to watch this video. But you're ruining my excitement right now. You're ruining my excitement quite heavily. Like, I'm actually going backwards. I'm actually reversing.
Especially because it feels better. I just don't believe resource sustain is a compelling problem to solve, especially because it feels bad when you can't cast your skills.
The thing is, it feels good, though, being able to make characters that utilize different amounts of, like, okay, mind over matter characters, for example, where you get a lot of mana. Or Archmage characters, where you use your mana as a damaging thing. Or there's that unique helmet, which changes the way your attacks spend mana. I feel like they're to totally remove resource sustain as a feature of the game. I don't know. I think taking the edge off it, though, for sure, is an idea. Is an idea for PoE 2. I have no mana. It is annoying, though, when you're just trying to cast your abilities and your guy just doesn't press it. And then you're, like, looking at your ability and it's, like, going gray, it's lighting up, going gray constantly. Okay, let me just stop banning this guy. Just ban this guy. Alright. Check this guy as well. Let's go ban Evader, actually. Let's go ban Evader.
My hair is going grey
Okay,
waiting
menu.
for gameplay.
Okay, guys, pun banned. Alright, just ban all these guys. Literally ban these guys. It's like 5 guys spamming with like. Just ban them. Just ban the guy. Yep. Okay. Chat, I am going to pause the video and talk about what he's saying throughout the video. If that bothers you, please fuck off. Like, seriously, please fuck off. That's going to happen. So please fuck off. If you don't want to watch it, then just fuck off. Alright? Alright, good. Okay, and now, if people start complaining, just fucking ban them. Ban them. Take them out. Take them out, boys. Take them out. No, it's one of those things where you could totally remove mana sustain, and you could totally remove mana as an equation, or like resource sustain from the game, right? Go to the. I'm being hyperbolic here. I'm not saying that Havoc's saying that, but you could totally remove it, and it would be like instantly a quality of life thing, right? You don't never have to worry about resource again. But then it removes, I think, a bunch of depth from the game and a bunch of ways you can play the game, which I don't think is necessarily good. So it's kind of like almost like a necessary evil, I guess, is what now I think about it.
Secondly, crafting. I believe PoE 2 has an opportunity to bridge the gap in itemization capability between an experienced endgame player and a new player journeying through the game for the first time. And third, further development of meaningful combat. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but because it's actually amazing. And I see significant potential for it to get that much better, especially as you get more tools and options to defeat various encounters. Now, during this introduction, I will be reviewing my March Ranger playtest, discussing itemization, gearing, and gameplay decisions, overviewing Ranger build archetypes, and in addition to the main run, analyzing how my 2 bonus speedruns went. Furthermore, I'll also be examining and challenging various design choices, such as the disenchant system or meaningful combat, and drawing comparisons between the March and June versions of the game, to hopefully make progress on the following questions.
Bro, this motherfucker is doing speed runs already. Well, he doing speed runs in PoE 2, bro. We ain't even logged into the game and played it yet, and this motherfucker is doing speed runs. What?
How hard should the game be? And how fast should the game play? I'm curious, by the end of the video, if you'll agree with my conclusions. If not, I'd love to hear what your opinions are. With that being said, let's get into it. Starting with the March playtest, immediately after, I was concerned with the scarcity of items and overall just slower paced gameplay. In that version of the game, the best way to speed things up was to slowly collect gold, to eventually gamble for weapons at the vendor, a tiresome but necessary task. However, in the June playtest, I felt this concern was addressed, with both item drops and gold feeling more plentiful. The gameplay was also faster, and our characters were much stronger, which of course felt great, but also fair. Fair because if I started playing too aggressively, I would eventually get checked, because both trash monsters and bosses would fight back. Which from my perspective, allowed the game to create periods of higher paced blasting that was kept in balance by tougher encounters that required strategic gameplay to move onward. This combat dynamic is fundamental to what made my PoE 2 playthrough so engaging, which is why I'll be emphasizing.
Bro, this couch co-op gameplay looks fucking heinous. The fuck am I looking at? Why is he up the top right of the screen? Why is there nothing here and it's up the top? Why is it up the top right of the screen, bro? And we're just looking at an empty field.
And expanding on it throughout the video. But before I do, let's shift gears and get into the main Ranger run.
Is a corpse?
Loading into the riverbank, the first thing I need to talk about is this insane level 1 chest from the Bloated Miller. Life.
Yo, bro, that's nuts, bro. What the fuck? 9 life, 6 co-res, 2.6 life per second, 7 to stun threshold. Oh, wait, so they just give you flat stun threshold now. So I want to know about fucking stats in PoE 2. Because it's like, what the fuck's that about? Because your stun threshold used to be based on your life and how much damage they dealt, and then you could get percentage increase of stun threshold. Whereas that just like flat raw dog stun threshold. I wonder if it's the same calculations as PoE 1.
Cold res and stun threshold are all great stats, but the biggest game changers on this item are actually the 17 energy shield and 2.6 life regen per second. These recovery modifiers significantly reduce the impact of chip damage during both boss fights and trash clear, meaning more time spent blasting and less time spent healing in town. That being said, recovery stats and professional speedrunning skills are not enough to rush into level 4 zone early. The werewolf prowlers inside the old forest hit a bit too hard for level 2 almost 0 gear character. However, when I returned to the old forest later as a level 4 character with just a 17 armor helmet, 22 evasion from this chest, and double the life regen with the crimson amulet, the werewolf
double, do 2.8 regen from the wait, the fuck's this?
22 evasion from this.
Let's see. 30 minutes less than life is 2.9 regen per second. Ooh.
Chest, and double the life regen with the crimson amulet. The werewolves were significantly more manageable, which underscores the importance of gearing. notably in regards to upgrading item bases during progression and not skimping out on defensive layering, a theme that I found constantly emphasized in both the Ranger and Monk run. Now, adjacent to gearing is vendoring and the new disenchant system. In Path of Exile 1, when you vendor an item, you generate transmutation, alteration, or alchemy shards. However, in Path of Exile 2, vendoring an item simply offers gold, and shard generation has been moved to a separate vendor. First question that comes to mind is why? Why create a new system? As a player, this just sounds like one more thing to do every trip to town. But holding off judgment for just a moment and looking at...
Wait, what the fuck? Okay, so wait, you can sell it for gold, or you can sell it for parts. I mean, surely the intended way to play the game is to always sell it for gold, right? When you're leveling, it must be always self. They what they want you to do from what literally John keeps saying. John, his name's John, right? Jonathan. From what Jonathan keeps saying, it's like, well, you buy gold. It's much simpler now. You just sell stuff, get gold, and then you buy the pieces of gear that you want. Right? That's the system that they're intending you use. But then wait, what's the other option?
Balance. Currently, disenchanting a magic item provides one transmutation shard.
Disenchant items? Oh, what the hell, bro? Wait, I didn't even know this. I just figured you got both. Not gonna lie, chat. I thought you got both. I did not realize there was a separate system altogether. Oh, so you just can straight up press disenchant. Oh my god.
Shard. And disenchanting a rare provides one alchemy shard. 20 magic items for one transmutation order that might not hit isn't exactly the most appealing offer.
Nah, bro, there's no 20 items, dude? Nah, that's stupid, bro. That's fucking dumb. Why are you ever gonna do that? You're never gonna do that. That's gotta scale with like gear, base, rarity, or like eye level, or both, right? There's no way that they can intend for you to pick up 20 items to get one shard. I mean, to get one fucking alchemy. Or one fucking transmute. Just not gonna do that. No one's gonna do that. No one's gonna do that.
Offer. And finding 20 rares in the first place
not.
is a tough ask. In this version of the game, the best way to find upgrades outside of lucky drops was gambling, which meant saving 300 to 600 gold or more per desired item slot, a task that wasn't too difficult since items sold for 10 to 70 gold each. With this level of tuning, the disenchant system was practically irrelevant, offering no alternative for acquiring upgrades. So with that in mind, if the developers wanted players to consider the trade-off between accumulating gold and gambling versus sacrificing gold for orbs and crafting on high-level bases, then the obvious solution is to naturally provide more shards. Which, to be fair, is something they might have already done by enabling higher item level gear to disenchant for more.
I expect they will.
While the system might be fine, my preference is...
It seems like they've just put the system in, but they haven't balanced it, and they just need to balance it, right? That's often what they'll do, is they'll put a system in and before it's balanced, and then they'll balance it. They'll just tune it.
Towards Path of Exile 1's automatic vendor system, simply because it avoids additional town downtime and extra decision making, which ultimately means more time spent fighting monsters. Moving onward, these systems and...
I don't necessarily think that's always good, though. I feel like spending time doing stuff that isn't fighting monsters is good, because it makes it get more... I straight up, I think the more time you spend not fighting... I feel like the more, like, bro, I'm a hideout Andy. Straight up doing stuff that's fun and interesting and engaging, that's not fighting monsters, is good for the game. Like, look at that game Magicraft, for example, right? And compare it to Brotato. Do you know why I was locked in hard as fucking Magicraft?
Glorious leader.
Do you know I was logged in? It's because you would get to these spots and you'd be sitting there going, oh, what if I combine this with that? What if I change this? And I'm theory crafting, right? I've got dummies, I'm testing setups, I'm doing stuff that's not just fighting monsters, right? And it's fun and engaging, and I'm locked in. And even little side zones that aren't combat, it's like, oh, little lab trial thing we're just gonna get through, or like a little puzzle. It's like another gameplay mechanic that's not just fighting monsters. So it keeps you more interested. Versus in Brotato, you just fight monsters the whole time, 24/7, and you just there's no like downtime. It's just there's no puzzles, there's no little mini events, and you actually get more bored. Which is why I think it's like, dude, I hope GGG have other mini end games and other mini things, and they don't try and optimize the game to be constantly fighting monsters, because that's what people think they want, but it's not actually what they want straight up. People's brain, like you want variety of content. You want a variety, bro. Straight up.
And the quantity of orbs you generate during the campaign directly relate to defensive balance. Currently, if I'm constantly upgrading my gear
Like,
to the latest item
I
base,
like the idea of like going to town often to gamble for upgrades and stuff and changing, selling things and fucking around with gear and changing and optimizing. That's cool. That's a cool thing to me. As long as it's interesting and compelling and not just annoying.
and equipping the appropriate resist jewelry, regardless of the affixes on my items, campaign progression feels fair. My potential concern is, currently, if I'm constantly upgrading my gear to the latest item bases and equipping the appropriate resist jewelry, regardless of the affixes on my items, campaign progression feels fair. My potential concern is, if say alchemy orbs are plentiful, we might run into a situation where the balance team deems that well-rolled rare items are required to smoothly progress ahead. And while it's likely that will be the case in later acts or early mapping content, it's worth considering how the amount of necessary gearing impacts the overall campaign experience. Right now, the level of minimum viable gearing in Acts 1 and 2 feels well balanced and enjoyable, especially so in the June iteration of the game. The progression from quest to quest, boss to boss, and zone to zone was challenging, but also fun.
I hate it if you're playing a game, like, for example, D4 or many other games, where you don't even give a fuck about your gear because everything's so trivial that you're just spedging. You're just like, whatever, slap it on. Don't even look at it. Slap it on, slap it on. You're not engaged with your character, and you're not engaged with what's happening. You're not engaged. You just don't care. You're just like, whatever. None of this matters. I'm just slapping random bits on, and I'm just going. Right? That's bad game design. I don't want them to be like that. I want it to be, you're like, fuck, man, I'm getting fucked up. And if I put a shit piece of gear on, my character's going to be shit. If I put a good piece of gear on, my character's going to be good. And you got to, like, look at the things, read them. Not be, like, overly complex, but still, there has to be a decision-making process that's going to have, like, based on your level of mastery, you're going to do either well or poorly, right? I feel like that's super rewarding for learning how to gear your character and how to optimize your character. And I hate when games, you just like, minimum gearing is just slap on anything that drops and just keep going. Up arrow, keep going. Up arrow, because you just stop caring. And the second you stop caring, I feel like your level of investment in the game goes down. Versus a game where you care about every little, like, for example, in Baldur's Gate, right? I cared about every fucking item that dropped, and I was ultra min-maxing every single slot down to the T, bro. Please elaborate. I can.
This constant feeling of forward momentum, which I believe is only possible because of two factors. There was no need to excessively refarm a prior zone, which would have broken immersion, and there was no pressure to overgear for any encounter. So expanding on these two factors, we can take a look at this dynamic in Path of Exile 1. In PoE...
am I fucking sick in the head where I, like, get to a point where my guy's getting owned, and I'm like, man, I need to farm the zone for a bit, and I kind of get excited to farm the zone a little bit. Is something wrong with me? Because I like that. I would much prefer that you occasionally have to farm the same zone for a little bit to gear up than the zones to be all trivial and non-engaging. Right? I think it's way better. Way better. Like, to have to do a zone once or twice to, like, oh, my guy's getting fucked up and I'm almost dying and I'm doing no damage, to, yeah. I think they should err on the side of balancing it to be a little bit too tough. Bro, come on. What the fuck is wrong with my shit where it does that?
From quest to quest, boss to boss, and zone to zone was challenging, but also fun. There was this constant feeling of forward momentum, which I believe was only possible because of two factors. There was no need to excessively refarm a prior zone, which would have broken immersion, and there was no pressure to overgear for any encounter.
My immersion doesn't get broken.
So expanding on these two factors, we can take a look at this dynamic in Path of Exile 1. In PoE 1, new players often full clear zones, over-leveling and overgearing much more than necessary. Whereas experienced players will often take the shortest path through zones, progressing quicker with less gear. For myself, the slow gear playstyle is what makes PoE 1 challenging and fun, and in the same respect is what made my PoE 2 playthrough just as enjoyable. Now on the flip side, the developers can still choose to design challenging encounters while also necessitating an above average amount of gear. However, I have to circle back that if the process of acquiring that gear is not engaging, it may disrupt the flow of gameplay. Which leads me to a new thread, crafting, and raises the following question: how can crafting be engaging, but also accessible, while retaining the depth and complexity that PoE players desire? Honestly, I don't have the answer to this, because my favorite form of crafting is identifying an item off the ground, potentially adding a craft, and blasting ahead with no downtime.
Shit, base, bro. Yo, buff ground loot, bro. True. Nerf meta crafting, buff ground loot. True, bro. True.
Interesting if a player or content creator that is well experienced with endgame crafting offered their thoughts on how they might implement it. I also wonder to what degree crafting as a system needs to be in the campaign, as the current gameplay loop is quite engaging without it. Perhaps crafting and the scaling of its complexity is best suited for maps.
Nah, you definitely. I think crafting should definitely be more of an in-game thing. Like that should. I don't think we should be fucking around like with, like, oh, let me just sit down and just get a base type to reroll like 20 times with different currencies. It should definitely be like, you're in game and you've got a very specialized build and you want a very unique item and you need to make it yourself, right? I don't think that's got no place for campaigns. Campaigns should be picking up items, getting quest rewards, maybe slapping on a craft every now and then, maybe using one reroll currency every now and then, but the rest of the time you're just kind of optimizing the basics of your character because your character is not really a build yet. It's a you're just leveling up, right? You shouldn't be going for custom bespoke items. Facts.
Where small periods of downtime already exist. Zooming back out to playstyle, right now in the current PoE 2 balance, you can create a similar experience to PoE 1 by refarming zones and bosses to outgear the content. While in contrast, if you farm each zone and boss once, your character will naturally have less gear, which leaves you with the decision, play slow and safe, or to challenge yourself to blast and survive. And this challenge to survive, while blasting as fast as possible, I believe is what makes Path of Exile 2 unique. Now, I could expand on strategic combat for quite a while, discussing when you can zoom and when you can just jump in and blow stuff up. But for the brevity of this video, I'll pick just one aspect of it, which is dodge roll, and how that leads to another design area with potential room for further improvement. So in this clip, you can see that I'm in the mud burrow, a very narrow zone, and as I'm progressing forward, I encountered this big pack with a ton of skeletons. And what's interesting here is that when I dodge roll through them, I shove the skeletons out of the way, which feels good. But immediately after, since mobs are dying slowly, I have to make a decision. I can kite backwards where I know it's safe, or I can push forward into the unknown.
This is literally D3 hardcore greater pushing belay logic he's using right now. This, it's a risk first reward
to progress ahead and get to the zone boss faster.
Dude, Havoc would love D3, man. This is what he's describing right now. This is exact D3 logic. Exact D3 GR logic. Straight up.
Naturally, as a speedrun,
especially if you're playing hardcore, which he effectively is because he's playing like speedrun mode, so he's got a constraint on time. So it is basically hardcore because if he dies, it's gonna fuck his time up. So yeah, same exact logic.
I chose the latter. Unfortunately, though, actions have consequences, and I get surrounded here by hard-hitting mud simulacrum. So to maintain forward progression, I try to dodge roll through the 2 simulacrum above me.
Bro, you're stuck.
I can't, leading to my quick demise. As an experienced...
Fucking deserved, bro. Fucking deserved. As it should be. As it should be. If you can't... Dude, there needs to be weight. Okay, there needs to be consequences to your actions there.
Player, I can recognize that this death was my fault.
Yeah.
But I suspect for newer players, this might not be so obvious. At the very least, they might feel confused or even frustrated with either the mechanics or the feel of the game. Now, this problem, which I'll define as a lack of agency, is evident in the June update as well.
You gotta feel the weight.
Open zones. Currently, if you pull too large of a pack, you might get swarmed and surrounded. And some might argue that this adds a level of challenge, but I would counter, this challenge is only 2-dimensional. Those 2 dimensions being that you either pull small packs of enemies and take care of them one at a time, or you should just YOLO jump in, button mash,
big dick, bro.
If you ask me, meaningful combat should offer more than just these 2 options, involving decision making both before and during the action. Now if I cooked for a moment, what if dodge roll had phasing? Without phasing, aggressive gameplay is punished.
I think phasing would be bad. I think his phasing would be terrible. I think it would be like quality of life, like, oh yeah, my character never gets stuck on anything, but then your character has no weight, right? And then positioning doesn't matter because you can just phase through everything. No, it's bad. It's bad. It would, and don't get me wrong, you should be able to get it, but it should have a cost. It should have a cost. You should have to use a unique slot on your gear, right? If you want that, or you should have to, spec into a thing on the tree. And then you get the quality of life of phasing, right? On roll, and then you can play way more aggressively. But it shouldn't just be default. Otherwise, dude, that if your character can't get like stuck in a bad place and you can always get out of it, there's no, it doesn't matter. Like, it ruins an entire level of depth of gameplay, I think.
And slow gameplay is encouraged, removing multiple dimensions of skill expression. Introducing dodge roll phasing could encourage more aggressive playstyles, allowing players to bite off more than they can chew, while still having the ability to outplay the situation. Furthermore, it may open up additional design space for the developers to explore. This change alone might
it totally reduces the depth of gameplay. Like, it totally reduces, because if you think about it, a situation where he gets trapped and he can't get out never exists anymore. It never exists anymore. That's like, why not just have phasing all the time? Just to have your character, it'd be nice quality of life. Your character could never get stuck. You'd never interact with no monsters would ever have weight, and it'd feel really good, and you could play way more aggressive. Why not just give characters permaphasing all the time? And I'm okay for that, right? If that's the kind of gameplay you want, well then guess what? You should have to spend the time and to collect the items, or invest your character into points that allow you to do that. But it shouldn't be default. Because I think by default, it makes the gameplay less engaging, in my opinion. Speaking as a hardcore gamer, like, dude, let me tell you, look at half my rip clips in games. It's me stuck in a corner between, like, there's a wall on my back. I can't go anywhere. You just watched a clip. My latest rip clip that the mods played was me stuck in a corner getting fucking ass reamed by, like, 10 spiders. If I have, like, infinite dash phasing roll, I would just roll through that, and I'm never in danger. I'm never in danger, and it's bad. It's stupid.
An emphasis and overly cautious gameplay.
Logout macros, yeah, logout macros are bad. I think logout macros are awful. It totally removes the logout macros remove the feeling of attrition, and that removes that insane pressure buildup. And you only really get it versus, like, then the only way you can kind of have that feeling of pressure buildup is by making monsters one-shot you, which is just inherently bad gameplay. I'm not a fan of logout macros. But if they exist in the game, and a thing that we can do, and it's not against the rules, and I'm playing hardcore, and you can basically play way more aggressively, and you can progress a lot faster, well, then I'm going to do it, of course. I would in PoE 2, they're removing the ability to log out, right? Well, they're making it so, like, you log out, and then you log back in where you were or something. I don't quite understand what the fuck they're doing, but they're trying to make it so you don't log out, which just sounds good. Sounds good.
And benefit your players who might not recognize the need for careful positioning and movement. All that being said, this might just be a skill issue, because in Acts 2 and onward, we had way more skill gems available. It's entirely possible I already had the tools at my disposal, and I was simply unaware of how to use them, which is a sentiment echoed by Jonathan Rogers, the game director of Path of Exile 2, who mentioned in a recent interview that you really need to spend time playing a character to fully understand how it works. And without that experience, getting destroyed is a likely outcome. Changing gears, we need to talk about mana, especially when you don't have it. The problem is, when you don't have it, you can't play the game. And that really is the key point.
Oof.
I understand resource management is a tool to balance the game. However, as a player, I've never found it to be a compelling problem to solve. In this clip in the background, you'll notice I've been low on mana for quite a while. And because of the town portal animation, I could not portal out. My only option at the time was to roll away while attempting to lose aggro with the mobs, then portal out.
Why is he spam rolling? I thought spam rolling isn't as fast as running. Am I tripping? Or is it the same speed exactly? Like that, because that looks super cringe when you spam rolling like that. There it is. Great pause. Yo, there it is. It's not as fast as running. Same speed? Is it slower? Yeah, it's stupid. If that's what we, if this is gameplay, bro. If this is gameplay,
away while attempting to lose aggro with the mobs, then portal out.
Like, I'm not a fan of that. Like, I hope that that's not the case. I thought it was, the roll it's slower overall, but your initial start of the roll is faster than your run. So, like, it's like, there's a curve. So it's quick, and then it slows down towards the end, and there's like a kind of recovery animation at the end. It's the same speed.
And refill my flasks. This took over 40 seconds, which is frankly frustrating. Now, they did update flasks in the June playtest, but it still wasn't enough. That said, this might have...
Yo, imagine if they did the D4 strat, bro. Imagine they did the Blizzard strat. Just add in generators, bro. Like, there you go. It's problem solved. Generator spender. Log in, dude. Log in.
only been a monk problem. All of the monk players I spoke to were grumbling about it, with some even specking mana nodes on the passage tree and still not solving it. Either way, I'm looking forward to more improvements here in the future. Changing focus from conceptual topics, let's discuss ranger builds. In this playtest, ranger builds can be sorted into two themes, lightning and chaos, with lightning builds being further broken down into two variants. The first variant is the simple combo between lightning rod and lightning arrow. Lightning rod shoots an arrow into the sky that remains in the ground for 12 seconds after it lands. This ground embedded arrow then releases AoE lightning bursts,
two-button gameplay.
which it's hit by chaining lightning beams. Conveniently, lightning arrow fires chaining lightning beams that can chain into the lightning rod arrows, creating multiple lightning burst explosions based on the number of lightning rod arrows previously shot. Now, in this version of the game, most monsters were fairly tanky, so higher damage combos like this were strongly incentivized. That being said, also in this version of the game, Stormcaller Arrow in combination with Herald of Thunder could recreate one-button gameplay. And what's interesting is, at the time, I considered this a balance issue, because if a one-button build was too strong, it would likely get nerfed. Yet that perception was based on my prior understanding that combo gameplay was the end-all be-all method of achieving meaningful combat. However, after the June playtest, playing a monk and clearing multiple screens in a row with mostly one button, I realized that meaningful combat doesn't necessarily require combo gameplay. It's just one avenue to achieve it.
Bro, there's meaningful combat in fucking Vampire Survivors, man. Where it's a zero button combat, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's totally possible. You don't need it. And I'm very much of the opinion that GGG are going to make it so the gameplay is going to be one button for clearing, and then one button for single target, and then you're going to have a bunch of cooldowns that you just use space for utilities. I feel that's going to be PoE 2 gameplay. Now, there's obviously going to be like 2-button builds and 3-button builds and stuff where you actually have to consistently do it as a rotation. But generally speaking, I think we're going to have a clear button, single target button, and then, like, you know, cooldown buttons you press for, like, bosses and things to get out of stuns and get rid of certain elements and things. Which, that sounds sick to me. That sounds nice. And then you've got dodge roll, and then you got wast, and then you give bosses lots of complicated mechanics. I mean, dude, I was just playing Magicraft. Right? You guys saw me playing Magicraft. That gameplay was very engaging, and there is literally one button. It's just attack. You got one button, and they got what you just had to add in like really insane bosses.
In future versions of the game, I can see a world where one button gameplay still exists, because by shifting the focus away from the player and more onto the monsters, combat can remain both engaging and strategic with the right combination of varied monster packs and enemies that actually fight back. Anyways, I did say I was going to talk about builds, but I just couldn't help myself there. Moving on to the Chaos Ranger build, I end up playing a Poison Dot variant with the 3 skills, Poison Burst Arrow, Toxic Growth, and Vine Arrow. This was a combo build and it worked as so. Toxic Burst drops pods on the ground.
Hey, yeah, notice this jump up shit always like bugs out and always looks complete cancer.
Arrow. This was
whatever this shit is. I keep seeing it in the PoE 2 gameplay footage. Does that look good to you guys? I always see that shit. They just jump up, get bugged and stunned, and it just looks awful every time.
Combo build and worked as so.
The same with the sorcerer. They run in and they jump up in the air and do some bullshit, and then they just get stunned and die every time. It just seems like not good.
Toxic Burst drops pods on the ground, which then light up and explode when hit by a Poison Burst arrow, as long as there's at least one monster above the pod when hit. To attack multiple pods at once, Poison Burst arrow was linked to multiple projectiles and pierce. And for more damage, Toxic Growth was linked to poison. This combo could chunk bosses, but in comparison to Lightning Rod and Lightning Arrow, it was much more difficult to use, because more focus was required to maximize pod overlap, while also predicting boss movement and avoiding monster one-shot abilities. Now both builds did benefit from Vine Arrow, which would help by tethering to bosses and slowing them down. But if I was put on the spot and had to choose a build for a new ranger to run, I would pick the Lightning variant for 2 main reasons. The first being that the jump back from Toxic Growth messed with my positioning much more than I would have liked, which I might have been okay with if the pod's conditional is a monster above check, had a larger area.
Yeah, that jump back looks, ugh. The only time you want to jump back on an ability is if it's a cooldown ability, and it's, you know, it has, you don't want it to be a rotational key. Having a permanent jump back on something where you don't want to, because then you're getting forced to jump back just to do damage. And if you're forced to jump back, well, guess what? There's going to be times when you don't want to jump back. Like, what, like, you know, I don't know. That seems like bad game design to me. Well, not game design, just a bad choice. Then again, I haven't played it, but it just looks bad. Every time I view it, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Why is he constantly jumping back like that, bro?
In combination with the larger explosion radius. But secondly, instantaneous damage and the ability to attack from afar just feels good.
Ugh.
Now transitioning to Speedrun 1, instantaneous damage and the ability to attack from afar.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck? It always glitches as well. They never actually jump back. Like, what the fuck is going on there, bro? What the fuck is that, bro?
Now transitioning to Speedrun 1, it was a low gear playstyle attempt that selected Escape Shot from the first uncut skill gem, with the goal of using it as a movement skill, and an ambitious secondary goal to clear while moving. The mobility was great when it worked, except when it didn't. It was very easy to use the skill gem and not go anywhere. As for clearing while moving,
I don't know, man. I feel like we see this bug happen heaps, bro.
Clear while moving.
Do you think
the mobility was great when it worked?
Is there a redesign required for the game engine in terms of like how your character collides with things? It seems like when you collide with terrain, you just slide along the terrain, but instead your character gets stuck on the terrain. We've seen it multiple times now, a bunch in videos where people are rolling and they get stuck on the walls. Do you remember in the PoE 2 demo, Jonathan's talking about how like it doesn't get stuck and then it immediately gets stuck. I'm saying I see it people just get stuck constantly on things. I don't know, man. It's a little bit spooky to me. Is that going to be complete cancer? that situation.
Except when it didn't. It was very easy to use the skill gem and not go anywhere. As for clearing while moving, that was definitely a bit too ambitious. Simply because, with the starting bow and no extra flat damage on gear, I could not one-shot monster packs in this version of the game. Still, the
What?
ability to
It
freeze
can
monsters
one-shot
is useful,
instantly at level
and
1?
conceptually, having tools like this to deal with swarms of enemies is something I can appreciate and agree with. Progressing ahead, since this was my second character,
Why is he
I
rolling?
was able to find the mud barrel
is that?
and subsequently
You guys are saying he's only rolling to dodge projectiles, and there's no projectiles, and he's still rolling, bro. Like, Havoc's not retarded, bro. Havoc's not retarded, bro. Why the fuck is rolling faster than running? Dude, Havoc is a fucking rank 1 speedrunner. He's not retarded, bro. Havoc is a smart guy. He's rolling, bro.
the Devourer rather quickly. However, the fight itself was quite difficult. No life regen, 2 life flasks, and low damage meant it was a battle of attrition, aka just don't get hit.
I like that.
But what if I could freeze the boss? In PoE 2, the chance to apply ailments is based on the magnitude of the damage done, which I believe we can visually see by looking at any individual ailment box. So in theory, if I hit 3 to 4 escape shots, I could have frozen the boss. Yet, it wasn't worth it, because it was too easy to get stunned, and since I didn't have any combos at this point, I couldn't take advantage of the fact that the boss wasn't moving. Furthermore, even if the boss was moving, I could for the most part still maximize my damage uptime with WASD and attack move. Now I have to note, after reviewing the fight, the stun issue was a skill issue.
Skill issue,
If we
yeah.
watch the footage closely, we can see the Devourer's arm winding up, telegraphing the ability, meaning I could have dodge rolled first and then used escape shot for a potential freeze. Still,
He's got to use Dark Souls tech, bro. This is like what I was trying to describe to Zach. What people need to shift mindsets. They need to shift mindsets of like, just spam at DPS rotation at a guy, like you do in PoE1, and more towards like Dark Souls. Wait for them to do a telegraphed attack, then understand they've got a downtime window, and then use that downtime window to do whatever the fuck you want. It's like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. Like, I mean, dude, they said repeatedly the game's inspired. PoE2's inspired heavily by Dark Souls. It's like Elden Halls. That's what they're going for, bro.
And then use
they're
the
going
escape shot for a potential freeze. Still, how did the overall fight go? Well, as I said earlier,
It's going to be very... thing is, when you fought... Okay, chat. When you fought Katara the first time, for example, when I fought Katara the first time, I got ass fucked because I was like, what the fuck, man? You're fighting this big guy, and all of a sudden he just, like, out of nowhere just kills you one shot with his arm. What is that about? That's some bullshit, bro. Like, how the fuck you supposed to see that? And what you don't realize is, once you fought him the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, you're like, oh my god, it's so obvious. His arm cocks back, he like does this thing, and then he goes bang, and you can easily see it coming. And I feel like that's going to be the case, but for every boss in PoE2, right? Every boss in PoE2.
the battle of just don't get hit, which I was pretty good at, except for when this happened.
He's just in camper, bro. Oh shit. Oh no.
All right, round 2. Let's try that again. Just don't get hit.
Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. He's getting fucking fine, bro. Oh, he's quitting, bro.
Anyways, escaping to Speedrun 2, we had some interesting drops.
Yo, we just quit.
We'll this Iron Ring and Fire Arrow Quiver. Just like PoE 1, flat damage is incredibly important for attack-based builds, and in PoE 2 is no different, with these 2 items almost doubling my damage, giving me the confidence to progress ahead to the Old Fields, a zone overrun with swift striking werewolves, whose swarming nature had previously forced me to retreat during the main run. But with my newfound damage, I can now 2 to 3 shot normal monsters instead of the prior 4 to 6, meaning I could play much more aggressively, dodge rolling through packs to clear as fast as possible. However, at the end of the zone, I encountered this evasive werewolf pack, which would not fall over quickly, forcing me to play at range, which introduced a new problem, because there's a second, much larger type of werewolf, which when playing at range, instead of simply chasing and swiping at you, like most wolves, would actually leap swipe instead, doing considerably more damage, with this one wolf repeating it 5 times in a row. Now zooming out slightly, without iron rings, fire arrow quivers, or even an insane weapon, the level of clear speed experienced in Speedrun 2, especially so in the first 2 zones, or as a monk in the June update, is the default balance baseline I desire. However, the more I review the footage, the more apparent it becomes that I could have been blasting in the March version of the game if I was more readily using my combos and was more knowledgeable in regards to monster AI and monster abilities.
Bro, I love this. I love that it's going to be like way more mastery based, way more skill based. Like, I love that it's going to be not just one button as much. As long as it's not 5 buttons or some shit, and we got combos, we got satisfying go. Bro, bring Bro, let me tell you, bro. Let me tell you, D3, bro, had a lot of things wrong with it. Do you know what they had? Some real satisfying combos. Oh my god, do you remember, chat, the feeling of getting a giant ass hella dense fucking pack and then getting an exploding palm on them, spreading that exploding palm to the whole pack, and then doing a 7-sided strike, bro, and then just the whole pack just goes it explodes. Oh my god, dude! It's like popping a pimple, but like way better. That's not even the best example, bro. Like, there's some good shit in there, bro. Some good shit.
Makes me circle back to Jonathan's statement that you need to spend some time playing a character to really understand how it works.
Dude, every jump back looks so shit.
Statement that you need to spend some time playing.
I'm such a hater of the jump backs. I'm such a hater. It just looks. It reminds me of a shitty dog shit Eastern free to play, pay to win fucking MMO game where they have these stupid jump back attacks on like every character and your character jumps in this. Yeah, that's what I look at. It's some shitty fucking Asian free to play, pay to win MMO where every character has some like fucking stupid attack where they jump back like 20 meters in the sky and like, man, look how cool this is, bro. It's not, because you guy just gets glitched on everything, stuck on everything, janked on everything. You don't lose control of your character. It's just bad, bro. I'm not a fan. Hey, guess what, dude? I'm not gonna play this character though, so I'm all good. But yeah, I'm highly critical of the jump back. It's funny, I have not played it though, so this is speaking as a person who's not played it. But every time I view it, it just looks awful. A part of me is like, ugh. It's one of the worst things about PoE 2.
To really understand how it works, and now I believe the sentiment also applies to monsters. Said differently.
Oh, to even the one at the end there.
Really understand how it works, and now I believe the sentiment also applies to
It's so monsters. Bad. I can't, dude. It's just in the wall. I can't, bro. Oh my god, okay.
Differently, Path of Exile 1 is the player's world. You become a screen-clearing powerhouse, and the game becomes an arcade blasting experience. Whereas Path of Exile 2 is the monster's world. We're just living in it.
Yeah.
Looping back to the introduction, I posed
what
two
is
questions.
that?
How hard should the game be, and how fast should the game play? And in review of the discussion so far, I've mostly discussed pacing and lightly discussed challenge, a subset of what hard is. Which is the big question. What does hard even mean? I've been trying to find an answer for quite a while, but defining hard is hard, because everyone has their own definition of hard. That said, for myself, hard is the challenge, and when I look at my most challenging moments, they are also my most memorable.
I think it comes back to intensity, right? I think that's, if the boss fight or the encounter, whatever you're doing, is intense, and you're freaking out, and your heart rate's elevated, then it's hard. For example, when I was playing Magicraft yesterday and I was fighting the final boss and my HP was getting lower and lower and lower to the point where I was literally 1 hit from dead, bro. 1 hit from dead. And I know if I die, my entire run, I just lost it and I failed on the final boss. So the stakes are high. And then, boom. Like, I dodged, bro. I dodged the final hit that would have killed me. I freaked out. Boom. Killed the boss. Super satisfying. And I would say that was like, you cannot get better balancing than that, right? I don't even understand how the fuck they balanced it as well as they did. Very impressive from the devs. The fact that I could go for a roguelite, which has so much, combinatorics in terms of how OP your character can be, and it just happened to be tuned exactly right to the point where I literally dodged the hit that would have killed me at the second that I killed him, right? And that was, I'd say it's hard. That's what I'd say hard is. If guess what? If it's like D4, and you're playing with a guy called Zach, who's never played Diablo in his entire life, who's all he does is play Age of Empires. He's fucking, he's spoken out. He's reading chat, not even looking at the screen the whole time. Just AFK, literally brain dead, not even reading gear, just spamming left click, not engaged with the game at all, not worried about your character's optimization because you're just shitting on everything. That's just not hard, and it's boring, and it's not engaging, right? It's as a default bad is what I'm trying to say, right? So you definitely need to have it. You need the game to fuck you up a bit, right, for it to be hard and for it to be fun. Because if the game doesn't fuck you up, you think you just want to own, but you don't. You actually want to lose. And then overcome the thing that was beating you. That's what you want. Which was why it was good that I lost in Magigraft. Guess what happened when I lost in Magigraft? When I went into the Magigraft and I lost in like the first zone, that was like, I could beat this game. I'm going to go back and do better next time, and I'm going to improve. And then it was more satisfying to win. That's why that's why Soulsborne games are so fun to beat a boss, because guess what? You lose and you lose and you lose. Now maybe that's probably too hard. I would say Soulsborne games, your average Soulsborne games probably a little bit too hard for most people, but like somewhere around there, like dying. I mean, Jonathan said it before, and he's many times. They want the bosses to kill you like 5 times. Which, I mean, that sounds fun to me. Now, it sounds kind of fucked for hardcore, though. Sounds pretty fucked to go blind on hardcore, but, that sounds fun. Someone in the chat says, shut up, fatty. Let me just ban this game real quick. Bro, you guys know you're getting banned for the league launch announcement, right? Like, what are you doing, bro? You're getting banned for PoE 2 announcement before PoE 2 comes out, bro. Like, to say, shut up, fatty. Like, is it worth it, bro? What are you doing?
So to attempt to answer the question, I believe the game should not be easy. Rather, it should be difficult. Because if it's too easy, there's no sense of accomplishment.
Yes, 100%.
And the experience might become forgettable.
Yep.
Whereas if the game is hard and tuned appropriately, the challenges can be both aspirational and memorable.
Yep.
I hope I don't beat endgame bosses on my first try. I hope I really have to struggle with some of them. I hope that there are pinnacle bosses that are so hard that if beaten, can provide a huge sense of achievement. And knowing the developers, I believe this is what we can expect. Now, moving on to pacing, the more I think about it, the more I realize
it's relative.
It doesn't actually
It's relative.
matter. What matters is the level of engagement, the flow of combat, the interest I have in my character, the puzzles I solve along the way, not how fast I clear a map. 20 seconds versus 20 minutes, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
What matters is if I'm having fun.
Yep.
And based on my experience so far,
True.
PoE 2 delivers. That said, the actual experience is more meaningful than anything I can say.
Nope.
Whether
Pasting Andy's are fucking retarded. The guys are like, the game is PoE 2's already dead. It's too slow. Everything's too slow. It's gonna be awful, bro. Guess what, bro? Guess what? Fucking Elden Ring. You fight like one mob at a time, and there's fucking hardly any density. And dude, it's an action role-playing game, just like PoE 1. It's got the opposite. It's instead of macro style gameplay where you can't even tell what's happening on the screen because there's so many monsters and you're just blowing them up, there's one guy on your screen and it's micro and you're having to watch exactly what he's doing and trying to avoid all his attacks. And you can still have OP builds that go way faster than other builds and you're still blasting that game, but it just looks different. And that's all it'll be in PoE 2. I think it's going to have more engaging combat and it's going to be more micro over macro, but you'll still be able to go blast and go fast, and but it's all relative to the game you're playing, and I don't think necessarily just more equals better. Now, for sure, there should be zones where you get like overwhelmed with crazy amounts of enemies. That should be a thing, and they should have those like, what does Neon like to say? A ruckus. That should have ruckuses where you can't even tell what the fuck's going on the screen. Just not all the time. You don't need 40 monsters on your screen to be having fun, chat. You don't need that. That's what you think you do, but you don't. Yeah, he likes he calls it a ruckus. That's what Neon or his name is your Mark GGG, but like not the smart GGG, kind of like the, he's like not the smart Mark GGG, but like just Neon, right? He likes to cause a ruckus, which is like why there's so much like fucked shit on the screen all the time, 24/7. Mark 2, yeah, Mark 2. He's smart, but compared to Mark GGG, the real Mark GGG, he's not very smart. Compared to the real Mark GGG, okay. The real Mark GGG is fucking a savant, bro. Okay.
or not it jives with you, that's for
All right,
you
don't
to
get
decide.
twisted.
Anyways, early access should be here on December 6th, and if you can't already tell, even with my reservations, I'm on the hype train. New game, new builds, new monsters, new everything. If you want more footage, you can check out my June playthrough here, and my Ranger boss footage here. Lastly, GGG is live streaming everything you need to know about Path of Exile 2 on November 21st. So until then, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day, Exiles. Bye.
Bro.
Bye.
Yo, bro. Amazing. Look, amazing video. Please, can you do a video on WAST gameplay? Sure, bro. Yeah. Let me link Havoc's video. It's a very good video. Very good video.